welcome back to my channel, Carolyn Stitches. My name is Carolyn and this is my Flosstube channel about my cross stitch projects and any other projects I may be working on. Today is Saturday, December 31st, 2022. I'd like to wish an early Happy New Year to all my subscribers. I'd like to say thank you to all my returning subscribers and thank you to my new subscribers. I really do appreciate you watching my channel and supporting me in my cross stitch habit. So I just want to say first off, thank you so much. I have reached 1,000 subscribers. Oh my goodness, this is just, I never thought. When I started doing this, my friends talked me into it and they said, you stitch so much, you should do a Flosstube. And I did it. And then I took a time off from it and I came back and I have enjoyed so much being a part of the community and sharing my cross stitch with you. And just, it's just been amazing. So thank you so much. To all my subscribers, new and old. I want to thank you for your support this past year and all the lovely comments. I do so enjoy reading them. So let's get into it here. Sorry, my cats are running around. I'm back in my living room. My husband's not home today, so I figured let's do it back here again today. Above my head is Maidens of the Seasons by Mirabilia. That's on prior videos. I go over that. And let's see, sorry, my brain is just everywhere. What's today? What are we going to do today? So my last two videos, I did a kit parade where I went through all my kits, and that was good to go through. These were fully kitted items with fabric floss and pattern. So I went through all my kits, fully kitted items, which is a nice way to go through and remember what I have. And then I did a whip parade, which is my works in progress. And I did a whip parade recently and got reacquainted with some old whips. And so doing that, it helped me figure out my plans for stitching in 2023. So later on in this video, I'm going to get into 2023 plans and stay at the end because I have a special giveaway for my subscribers for reaching 1,000 subscribers. So I'm sorry, I feel like I'm all over the place today. I just got home. It's been a little busy this morning already. So what do we get into it? I'm going to put pictures at the end of all my finishes in 2022. I think I had 46 finishes, and a lot of them were smalls, and I did finish up a few whips, and I did get a lot of them fully finished. So I'll put fully finishes at the end. What else have I been up to since I last saw you? So I did the Jingle Ball on December 2nd and 3rd, I believe. That was put on by Lindy Stitches and about 11 other designers. That was a wonderful online experience of meet and greet with different designers and then different stitchy rooms to join. So I did join in that at the beginning of December. And then I had a stitchy day in December where two old friends of mine from my old knit group visited. So I had this knit group that I joined back in 2008, and it met every Thursday night at a Starbucks. And over the years, we would have nights where there would be 5 of us knitting, and then some nights there'd be 20 of us knitting. And the numbers would just ebb and flow over the years. And then right before the pandemic, it got down to about 4 of us who were meeting on a regular basis. And then just since the pandemic, unfortunately, the knit group has pretty much dissolved. So that was a good 12 years of a knit group I was attending every Thursday night. And I didn't necessarily knit every night I went to the knit group. Sometimes people would bring a quilt they were working on and bind off. Some people would crochet. Some people would cross stitch. Just whatever hobby you were working on, you worked on it at the knit group. And I met some very wonderful ladies. And I do have some ladies that are just close friends to this day that I still hang out with and travel with and just spend great quality time stitching with and talk to on a regular basis. So in December, mid-December, a friend of mine, Sean, he came down from New York to visit another one of our stitchy friends. And they're like, he just took up cross stitching. And we met up at the Cross Stitch Cupboard in Fort Lauderdale, my local needlework shop. And we had a day of cross stitching. So it was great to meet my friend, reconnect with my friend Sean from my knit group and reconnect with my friend Faith from my knit group. So we sat there and stitched the afternoon away and caught up. And then, let's see, Christmas, husband and I just had a very quiet Christmas, just the two of us. I can't remember. Oh, we went for crab. Christmas here in South Florida was like really cold for us. So I'm not kidding when we had 2 days where we didn't get out of the 40s and another day we didn't get out of the 50s. And that is extremely rare and uncommon for us down here in South Florida to have 2 days where the temperature didn't get out of the 40s both days. So we're not really used to that. We're not prepared for that. Yeah, the heat went on and we just hibernated in the house. But we did go for crab Christmas Eve. My husband took me out to dinner to this restaurant down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, called the Rustic Inn. And they have fabulous crab, queen crab, king crab, all kinds of crab, like 5 varieties of crab. And I had king crab and it was just so good. So that was our Christmas, basically our Christmas dinner. And then we hibernated, doing a lot of stitching. And then this past Friday, yesterday, I met up with more knit friends at one of their houses. My friend Helen, who I traveled to StitchCon with. She hosted at her house, and another one of our knitting friends, Jamie, came over. And it was the 3 of us sitting there cross-stitching for the afternoon and had an enjoyable afternoon cross-stitching. My friend Helen is working on a Haid right now, Heaven and Earth Design full coverage. And I was looking at it, I was like, oh, how do you see that? She's doing it 28 count, 1/1. I was like, wow. And then Jamie had just started a Gecko Rouge full coverage that her husband got her for Christmas, and I'm just sitting there working on my little Holly hobby. But I am tempted to start a Heaven and Earth full coverage soon. So what else? Plans. I'll save my plans. I know today, being New Year's Eve, a lot of people are participating in the New Year's Eve 12 by 12 with Pam from Just Keep Stitching and Kia from Kia B. I'm not going to participate in that. We're going to go out to dinner later. As we normally do for New Year's Eve, we're going to go out to dinner. And then I think we're just going to probably try to find a movie marathon of something to watch as movies. Yeah, I'm not doing 12 by 12. It was a little too stressful for me to plan that out. But I will get into my plans. I have a New Year's Day start planned for tomorrow. And then I have my plans laid out of what I'm going to do. So anyway, plans will be later on. But let's get into it. I have fully finished items that I picked up from the cupboard. I have finishes. I was very busy this month focusing on one project, so I have finishes for that. And then I have some whips and new starts, a little bit of haul, and my plans, and a giveaway. So we're going to get into it. So the first one, and fully finished, is Merry Christmas by Blackbird Designs. And I don't recall anymore what this was stitched on. Sorry, I don't have the details with me, so I just picked up some covered. Previous video, I do talk about it. This was one that Joni from Joni Loves Stitching was stitching on, and I commented on it that I loved it, and she was so kind to send me the pattern. So I had this framed at my LNS, and what they did is they put this little dowel on the back. So it's so handy, and this frame is so light, it just stands up on that little dowel, which is nice. So this one doesn't have to go up on the walls, it can stand up. So that's Merry Christmas. They also finished my Tiny Town, Merry Christmas Tiny Town, in this little drum finish for me. So that's Tiny Town. It's very cute. And my last fully finish is the 2 Turtles and a Flamingo by Jean Farish. I was stitching along on this with Alicia from the Fanciful Flamingo. She was stitching on it. I was watching her stitch on it down at the cross stitch cupboard, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's the colors. They're really pretty and all that. So I decided I'm going to join you and stitch along, and we were stitching along, and we both finished. And mine is on, I think it's an 18 count Ada. I don't remember the color name. If you're interested, just drop me a message below. I do know in a prior video I go through it all. But I had this framed at the cupboard, and I had the glass put on it because it will hang. I will hang it over here somewhere, and it'll stay up year round. So that is Two Turtles and a Flamingo by Jean Farish. Okay. So I did have quite a few more finishes. Let's see here. Let's go through in order here on how I finished these. So the next finish I had, sorry for the zippers, was the Annie B's Folk Art 12 Days of Christmas. And it was an exclusive through Crazy Annie Stitching, and it's all these little stockings. And I still have to finish them with some Lady Dots Creates trim, and then follow the instructions here to fully finish the stockings. So I concentrated the entire month of December, and I was determined to finish these, and I did. I think it was the 26th of December I finished them all. They are all stitched on 27 count Linda Even Weave in black, and here and there I changed out the blue just to make it a little brighter. So this is day one, and I did switch out the blue on the partridge just to give it a little more brightness, and it does have some beads in it. There are some beads. So there's day one, and we're gonna go through the 12 days of Christmas here. There's day two. And 3. These are really fun to stitch. The only thing it started to get to is kind of get to me because I kind of don't like stitching the same thing over and over again, is this top branch. It's just on repeat for all 12, and after a couple stockings I was like, I am so over stitching this branch. But I'm happy I stuck with it and got them all done. I had intended here in 5 gold rings to use Krennic metallic or Petite Treasure Braid metallic on the gold rings, but I just kept chugging along and kept stitching it as charted and didn't do that. So these were fun. The black was a little it was a little hard at times to see on the black. I really had to use my OttLite and have good lighting. And I know a lot of people say, like, put something white behind it and you can see the holes. And you can probably see here as I'm holding it up, as the white's behind it, you can see the holes. Well, that was great, but I wasn't able to see like the proper thread of where I wanted to stitch because it's 27 count and I was stitching it 2 threads over 2 threads, so 2 over 2. And I was having a hard time if I had the light behind it and something white behind it. Great, I could see the holes, but I was having a hard time seeing the certain thread that I wanted to start my stitch at each time. So it was more of a trick for me not to have anything white behind it, but kind of like lay it at an angle and let my OttLite, I know it's hard to say, like reflect off the threads in the stitching in the fabric so I could see the correct thread of where I wanted to bring my fabric up from. So there's number 7. So one day I'll have to sit down and fully finish all of these. Number 8, I did change her dress out too to a little brighter blue. 9. We're almost there. 10. 11. They were fun to stitch. But these branches and some of these little leaves, after a while, it was getting a little monotonous. And then 12, the final one. So there are my 12 days of Christmas, and I need to get them fully finished now at some point. So when I finished 12 Days of Christmas, I was in the middle of filming. I did my special videos, my whip parade, my kit parade, and I finished 12 days, and I was like, I don't really want to start anything big just yet. But as I was going through my whips, I saw some small whips, and I pulled out some of the smaller whips, like, let me set these to the side. Some of them are close to finishes. Let me work on them, and then maybe I'll be able to get a finish on them. So I did do that with one by Barefoot Needle Art called Snow Place Like the Beach. This came in the Under the Sea Fabrics Christmas Advent box from 2021. This is part of the Advent box, and it came with all the flosses, and this is the little finishing kit for it. and it came with the fabric. It called to stitch it on 1/1 on 32 count, and I tried, but it was way too small. So I did it 2/2 on 32 count, and this is the finish. Snow Place Like the Beach. These two colors here are a Threadworks color, so it has that great variegation. Variegation. Words are hard. And so I stitched it 2/2, so it's much larger than the little finishing pack it came with, so I can't use the finishing pack. Sorry, the cat's right here. Stop it, Quill. Quill, go. So that I was able to finish Snow Place Like the Beach. So that might end up for a smalls exchange at some point when I do a smalls exchange. Okay, so those are my finishes. Let me get into the other whips I've been working on. So the times I went down to the Quill. Sorry, my cat's like decided he wants to play with my project bags. When I went down to the cross stitch cupboard to stitch with Sean and Faith, I worked on Reindeer ABCs by JBW, and it's this top one here. So I worked on that. It's just on a mystery even weave, mystery white even weave. This is one of those kits I got at the cross stitch cupboard, which was a previous stitcher's kind of like stash. So there's where I went. I know I added some of the alphabet and another deer and started over here. So that's how far I got on that. And this, once again, it's only going to be yay tall. You know, this is as tall as it is. And I think I'll have it also made into a drum when I finish that one. That one's been fun to stitch on. And then I pulled out another whip to work on. This one's been a little more challenging for me. It doesn't stitch up as fast. It is Quaker Bells from the Heart Needle Art. Quaker Bells. And I'm doing this one on a 25 count Lugana in light green. And I'm using a Victorian Motto Sampler Threads floss conversion. So I picked my own flosses. And I'm doing it 1 floss over 1 thread, so 1/1 on 25 count. And I worked on the bell and the little bird and some of the red. I was working on that the other day. This does take me a little longer. I don't know why, for some reason, the 1/1, I'm a little slower doing 1/1, but I do like how small this is going to be. I did realize, I said in prior videos that I kind of have an issue starting and ending my floss when it's just 1 floss and doing 1/1. So what I've started doing is a pin stitch on 1/1. So I come up and I pierce the thread in the center of the fabric, and then I start my other X and pierce the thread again and then complete my X. So that's doing a pin stitch over 1/1. You kind of have to pierce the thread on the fabric, and it's been working great. And then I just kind of struggle to bury the floss on the back when I'm done. So I worked on that for a little bit. Okay, and then I had a desire to have a new start also, because I just felt like doing a new start. And this was one of my kits I showed, and it was a Jardin Privé. I can't pronounce it. I think it's something about all the years. So it's all the different months of the year. And I'm stitching this on, let's see, what am I stitching it on? Good question. Cashel, 28 count cashel in sand by Picture This Plus Fabrics with the called for DMC. And I got a small start, and I started on January, and I started the I think it's January. Yeah, January. The snowman. I started the snowman. So just a small start. I figure maybe I can try to do one of these a month, and then by the end of the year, I'll have it done. So we'll see. It's not necessarily fully in the plans, but every now and then I need a break on larger projects, and if I can, you know, finish one of those, that'll be nice. Okay, one more. We start. Sorry, cat's deciding to lay on my project bag. Okay, this next new start. This I picked up on my visit to the cross stitch cupboard in December. Maggie from Kitschy Whips was, she was reminiscent, and she found some old patterns from the 80s, and she decided to start a totally tubular stitch along. So it is on Instagram as hashtag totally tubular Sal, S-A-L, and her idea for it is stitch something from the 80s. Like a lot of us kind of grew up in the 80s. There are quite a few of us who grew up in the 80s, or we just had things from the 80s we really loved, or we have old patterns from the 80s. So it's not just like 80s pop culture that she's doing. She's also saying, if you have something with like geese on it, if it's a pattern from the 80s, if it has like little teddy bears, or it's the like mauve and blues, something from the 80s, stitch on it. It's part of totally tubular stitch along. And Maggie had showed something with petals. I can't remember it. It was like these ladies with petals. And I was actually talking to the ladies when I was stitching with them yesterday. I'm like, do you guys remember these like petal ladies? And we're all kind of like halfway like, gosh, I kind of remember something with them, but I kind of don't. But they're so cute and adorable. And Maggie has that pattern to stitch. But she also had strawberry shortcake. And when I was growing up, I had strawberry shortcake. And I loved strawberry shortcake as a little girl. So she had strawberry shortcake. And I was like, you know, this sounds like fun. I want to join in. And I was down at the cupboard, the cross stitch cupboard. They had so many great patterns. She had like the Care Bear Cousins, Pound Puppies, Annie, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Troll Dolls, and then plus she does have a lot of patterns still from like the 80s. So the cross stitch cupboard was perfect to look for a pattern. And as I was looking, I found Holly Hobby. And I do remember Holly Hobby when I was a little kid. And Mom, you're watching, you have to help me out with this. For some reason, I recall I had something Holly Hobby when I was a little girl, but I don't remember what it was. I want to say I may have had a lunchbox or something, but I don't remember. But Holly Hobby, I remember her when I was little, but also she kind of reminds me of Little House on the Prairie. And I loved watching Little House on the Prairie when I was a little girl. So I decided I'm going to do Holly Hobby as part of the totally tubular stitch along. And so I found this pattern. It is Paragon Needlecraft, designs by Gloria and Pat. And it has holly, but it also offers holly in a blue colorway and a red and a brown colorway. And I thought this was orange. This totally looks orange to me, but apparently it is a brown colorway. So I figured I'm going to do this brown orange colorway, and I'm going to think of it, kind of make it more like a fall piece. So it's not just like this random 80s culture, 70s, 80s culture item in my house. It's going to have a fall vibe to it. So I decided to do the brown colorway. And I picked a piece of persimmon, 32 count linen persimmon by Fiber on a Whim. And I started it in the brown colorway. And I think it looks great. It's coming out great on this color. I got so much stitching done. I've been focusing on this for like 2 days now. And I got to come down and finish her dress and then do her big bonnet. But I am about halfway done with her dress right now. So this, I think today, New Year's Eve is going to be my focus all day on New Year's Eve, just to see how far I get. Because then after I get her dress stitched, all this is like a patchwork dress. You can tell the pattern here. It's a patchwork dress. It's all going to be backstitched. It's going to be a ton of backstitch. So I am loving this. This was such a good idea. Thank you, Maggie, for the idea of the totally tubular stitch along. So I guess it's just pick a pattern from the 80s. Doesn't have to be 80s pop culture. It could just be a pattern you have from the 80s and join us. That would be wonderful. Okay, let's get into haul, plans, and then I have a giveaway. So haul. I bought the Nora Corbett, what are they called? Christmas Eve couriers. My friend Helen has been stitching these, and she has 3 of them fully finished and framed, and I saw them again yesterday on her wall, and they are gorgeous, and I've been wanting to do them. She has another 3 finished, but she hasn't framed yet. And then I think she's slowly working on the last 3. And then she'll do the sleigh also. And then when I was at StitchCon this year in June, somebody brought them fully finished, not fully finished, but stitched, and had them displayed. And they did them on this really beautiful dark blue fabric, and they're just so sparkly and gorgeous and all that. So I couldn't resist, and I bought them because I wanted to get them before they go out of print. Because you know how Nora's and Mirabilia's are. Like, before you know it, something's going to pop up. Oh, that's out of print. And then you pay an arm and a leg if you find it on the secondary market. So I wasn't taking any chances, and there was a couple sales, and I had to buy from a couple different websites, but I got them, and I'm happy I got them, and it was kind of like my Christmas present to myself. So I got this, and I have the embellishment packs, so the bead packs with these 2, which is probably more beads than I need, but it came with like the treasures. There's a lot of treasures on these. So I probably have a lot of leftover beads, but I don't care. I wanted to get the bead packs, the floss and Krynex and stuff. I'll get at a later date when I'm ready to start. So I'm also trying to figure out a fabric for this. So I'll go through them first, and I'll kind of talk about what I'm thinking of a fabric. So the first one is the Christmas Eve Courier Santa's Sleigh. And these are in no particular order. It's just how I have them piled up here. Vixen. Comet. Blitzen. Princer. Rudolph. Cupid. Dancer. Dasher. And Donner. So my plans for these is I want to find a fabric for them. I am going to Brick City Cross Stitch Bare Bones Retreat February 8th through 12th, a 3-day retreat up in Ocala, Florida. I went there at the end of October, so I signed up for the February retreat. So I'm going to be going to the February retreat, and I'm hoping while I'm up at Jean's shop, Brick City Cross Stitch, I will find a fabric for it. I was looking online, and I have a fabric idea, which is kind of like the color of my nails. It was called, I think it was a 32 count even weave blue azure, azure. I don't want necessarily a hand dyed because I don't want the modeling, any modeling in the hand dyed to take away from these reindeer and the gorgeousness of them and all their, you know, shiny bling and stuff. So I'm looking for more of just like a solid, but I do want, I don't know, like a darker color. I know my friend Helen is stitching hers on the twilight blue linen that it calls for, and hers are gorgeous because it looks like it's kind of like a snowy night, and it's really pretty. I'm thinking just something a little deeper in color. That's why I'm thinking maybe something like the color of my nails. I don't know. I'm going to go up to Brick City. I got to sit down and do my math because I want them all in the same color fabric, so I want to buy enough fabric at the same time. So I need to sit down and do my math on how big of a piece of fabric I need to do all 9 of the reindeer plus the sleigh. And I do have Winter White Santa to also kind of stitch with this too. But I figure let's start on the reindeer. And they're kind of small. They're only, what are they? 80 by 100 stitches. So they're like 5 inches by 6 inches. So they are on the small side. There's just a lot of beading in them. So I think they're pretty doable to do them pretty quick with the rate I stitch. Like I said, I just want to find the fabric. And when I go up to Brick City in February, I'm going to figure out a fabric to stitch them on. And the last piece of haul I got was Kathy Haberman from Hands On Design posted on her Instagram or her Facebook that she had a pattern available in a magazine. And I went and found the magazine. It is the American Patchwork and Quilting, issue 180 magazine. It's out now. And she has a pattern in here, a cross stitch pattern, and it's kind of doing the crossover between quilting and cross stitch, because quite a few of us, sorry, I'm looking down, I'm trying to find the pattern in the book. Quite a few of us are multi, as I call it, we're multi-craftual. We do more than one craft. There's a lot of us that cross stitches our craft, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of us that are knitters in cross stitch, crocheters in cross stitch, quilters in cross stitch. Some of us, like I said, we just cross stitch, and that's great. Some of us, you know, knit, quilt, crochet, and cross stitch. We do it all and try to find the time to do it all. But she put this pattern out in the quilting magazine, and it incorporates quilting and cross stitch. So you cross stitch the little hexagons, which have a flamingo design, and then you use a technique called English paper piecing, which after you cross stitch these, you basically wrap them around a piece of paper shaped in the hexagon stage and then sew them together. So it's called English paper piecing in quilting. And it gives all the great directions on how to do it and do the English paper piecing. So it's kind of bridging the gap between cross stitch and quilting. So she has great instructions in here on how to assemble, and that would be like the pincushion little pillow, and it's really cute with the flamingos. And then if you don't cross stitch, maybe you're not a cross stitcher, you're a quilter, use the magazine, you still just follow the pattern, and you could have a cute little English paper pieced pincushion, just like fussy cutting out of fabric or using scraps. So I thought that was really cute, something to incorporate my quilting and cross stitching. So I got that magazine. Okay, let's get into plans. So I am going to participate two things this year. When I was looking through my kits and my whips, I have about 30 something whips, and I have more kits and stash than I could probably stitch in my lifetime. But I do stitch a lot. I do get a lot of stitching done, so it doesn't bother me. I want to find a way to give love to those whips that have maybe not had love and been sitting around, because I tend to focus on the new stuff. So I'm kind of joining Alicia from the Fanciful Flamingo and Jessica from Sweetwater Stitching. They started a group on Facebook called Stitch Your Stash 2023. So to find it on Facebook, it's called SYS 2023. And the purpose of it is we all have these great stashes. We all have these patterns we've bought that we love, fabrics we've bought that we love, but we always tend to get distracted by the new shiny things that come out. So the premise of it is try to stitch what you have from your stash. So it could be that, and it doesn't say that you can't buy anything. You know, there's really no rules to it. It's just trying to encourage you to stitch what you have in your stash. So you could do it where I want to start a new project. Well, go in your stash. Look for a pattern in your stash. Try to kit it with fabric from your stash and flosses from your stash. Or maybe you have the pattern in your stash and you want to kit it, but you don't have the fabric for it. Fine, go buy the fabric. But you're using a pattern that's in your stash. Maybe you found a new fabric that at the store that you really want to buy this fabric. Look in your stash for a pattern to use it for. Or some of us, we have such extensive stashes. Like I know I do, and I know a number of my friends do. My sewing room is like a mini craft store. I could go in there and pick a fabric floss and pattern and kit it up from my stash. I have patterns that I have kitted from my kit parade you saw, and I have whips I haven't worked on. So I'm going to treat 2023 as stitching from your stash. Not to say I won't buy anything in 2023. Yeah, I'm not going to get the whole year without buying anything. That's not going to happen. Market's going to come out in March. I'm sure there'll be new things I'll want. I'm going to Brick City in February. I'm sure there'll be fabrics. But I'm going to try to be good, and I'm going to try to focus on, let me stitch what's in my stash first and focus on that, because as I went through the kit parade, there were so many wonderful things that I do want to stitch. So to get my head around that, I am actually for the first time trying to plan and have a planner and be organized. So here's what I did. I went through and I identified all my WIPs and I wrote down all my WIPs. And as you can see, I've already finished one WIP that I wrote down. I've highlighted off and finished one WIP. So I wrote down all my WIPs, and there are 34 WIPs because I have 2 on this page. So I wrote down all my WIPs. And I put my WIPs in a tiny decision wheel in an app on my phone. So there's apps you can get online or through your phone, apps that are like decision wheels. And what you do is you can spin the wheel and it goes around and it'll land on something, and that's what you'll do. So I put all my WIPs in a decision wheel. And my plan is plan subject to change. My plan now is to, on the first of the month, spin the wheel, and whatever WIP it lands on, whatever one of these 34 WIPs it lands on, I mean, it could be something that I'm dying to stitch on, like, you know, Let's Talk Spring or my Moonlight sampler, or it could be something I haven't touched in a long time, like, you know, Cinderella or Stitcher's Code, things I haven't really given any love to. I'm going to spin the wheel. Whatever WIP it lands on for 1 week, I'm going to dedicate to stitching on that WIP for 1 week, no matter which WIP it lands on. Some of these WIPs are close to a finish, so maybe I'll get some finishes out of them. Some of them are nowhere near close to a finish, but I should be able to get some good progress in them. At least give them some love, move them along. So I'm going to spin the wheel on the first of the month, and whatever WIP it lands on for 1 week, I'm going to dedicate to that WIP. And then at the end of the week, if I decide I'm really enjoying the project, I may continue with it for another week or so or more. If I'm not enjoying it, then I'm done. I can move on to something else. But what I'm also going to do, if I decide that I'm going to move on to something else, all the kits that I have fully kitted, this is not all the kits that I went through in my kit parade that are fully kitted. These are the ones that are residing in project bags that are pretty much ready to go. They're living in a project bag. So all of these that I have fully kitted, fabric, floss, pattern, I have these in another wheel. So when I'm done with that WIP, when I've dedicated that 1 week to that WIP, and I've decided I don't want to work on that WIP anymore, or I maybe give the WIP a little more love, I'm going to spin the wheel and hit one of my kits. And that's a kit I'm going to start. That's if I'm feeling like a start. Because like I said, I may still love to do that WIP and keep working on that WIP and give that WIP 1, 2, 3 weeks of love. Or I may be like 1 week, I'm over it, and I'll decide that, okay, I want to spin the wheel and start a kit. I could spin the wheel and do another WIP. I could do none of that and pick anything I want out of my WIPs and work on it. But I am trying to focus on this stuff that I have. So this is like trying to stay with my stash. Seems a little confusing, but I don't like to have hard, fast rules. I am kind of a stitch what I want, but if I give myself 1 week for a WIP, what's the harm? And then if I decide, oh, I'm itching to start something new, I spin the wheel and start one of my kits because that's still sticking with my stash. Not to say at any time in that whole month period, if I worked on a WIP, if I started one of these kits, I could pull any other WIP out and work on it. I could pull any other new start out from my stash and work on it. It could be something I bought at the store recently. We'll see. Depends on what I want to work on. So I have this all in my little book, and I'm going to try very hard this year to keep track of what I'm working on. This is my new year, new start. But I'm going to try very hard to keep track of what I'm working on because I find that I forget what I work on, and I always have to use my Instagram. So I'm trying to keep track on each day, write down the project I'm working on, write down any projects I've started, and I'm trying to stay organized. This could last for all of 2 months and then be done. Okay, so that's one set of plans. How I'm going to tackle WIPs and how I want to treat like new starts. My third thing that I'm incorporating into this year that I've never done before is WIPGO. So WIPGO was started by Jessie Marie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff, and she treated it as a way to give herself challenges throughout the year of working on projects. And it's like a bingo board and it has 25 items, and the 13th center square is a freebie, but you set yourself goals. Jessie Marie has a wonderful video where she explains WIPGO and what WIPGO is all about. And I've never done WIPGO in the past because, once again, I'm kind of like a free stitcher where I stitch on what I want to stitch on when I want to stitch on it, and I kind of don't like rules. But I was watching Sheila on Sunshine Stitchers, and Sheila has never done WIPGO either, no matter how hard EJ has tried to get her to do WIPGO. Sheila has never done WIPGO either, but Sheila had an idea. She was going to participate in WIPGO this year, and she was doing it as smalls. So her WIPGO board was going to be smalls because she figured that was something that was not too stressful and that she could, you know, easily work on. And I was like, pitching, like, great idea, Sheila. I love that idea. I have a ton of smalls. I mean, I did smalls September last year. So I figured it's doable on smalls that I can focus on 2 smalls a month. And when I say 2 smalls a month, WIPGO, they pull numbers. Jessie Marie pulls 2 numbers for every month, and that corresponds with a number on your bingo board or your WIPGO board of what you're to work on. So I'm following along with Sheila, and I am going to do a smalls WIPGO board. So I created my WIPGO board, and they're numbered 1 to 25, and the middle one's free. And Jessie Marie calls the numbers, and she already called the numbers for January, and her numbers she called for January were 6 and 10. So on my board, I have filled out all the smalls that I want to work on for WIPGO for 2023. And mine are mostly Mill Hill kits. So Mill Hill kits are small, and I have them here in front of me. I have a lot of Mill Hill kits on here, and I have a lot of small stitches. So some things on here are like, there's a lot of Mill Hills. There's a Flip It, which I want to say is a heart and hands. A retro Christmas ornament, which is this little ornament from Meridian Designs that came in an advent box. Little Gray Hair, which is a little Lizzie Kate kit. Chessie's Fern, which is a small leftover from my small September. Turtle Dove Satsuma Street little kit, and a lot of these are Mill Hill kits. So that's what I'm going to do. I figured that's doable for each month. I can focus on the 2 smalls because that could give me a break from that big whip I'm going to work on. The whip I'm going to work on for a week straight. If I can whip out a little small in like 2 days, you know, it's, especially if I didn't finish the whip, it gives me a little bit of satisfaction. So the numbers that were called were 6 and 10. And on my WIPGO chart, number 6 is Kitty's Gift, a little Mill Hill kit, Kitty's Gift. And the other one on my chart is Wacky Wendy. Let me get it. And Wacky Wendy. So those are my 2 that I have for January for WIPGO. So I feel like I'm participating, but I'm not stressing myself out because even if I don't finish the small, oh well, no big deal to me. But they're smalls, they should be doable. Okay, so let me my thoughts together. Okay, so the plans. Work on the whips, spin the wheel. When I want to do a new start, work on the kits, spin the wheel. When I'm done focusing on that whip and I don't want to focus on that whip anymore, pick any whip I want to work on or spin the wheel and work on another whip. However, I'm not spinning the wheel on a whip for January, at least not yet, because I have a new start planned for tomorrow, January 1st. It's my new year, new start, and I'm doing this as a stitch along with Melissa from Neely's Needle Nest. When we were at Brick City Retreat in October, we were sitting and talking, and we both realized we have Teresa Kogut's Let Love Rain. And we decided we were going to do that as a stitch along starting January 1st. It'll be our new year, new start. Excuse me, stitch along. So please join along with us. I think Melissa started the hashtag Let Love Rain 2023 Sal or Sal 2023. I'll have Let Love Rain 2023 Sal. I'll put a link below on what the hashtag is. So that's Let Love Rain by Teresa Kogut. And I have all the DMCs. And I have a piece of, I think I chose a piece of 32 count Lugano, and Murano Silvery Moon. So it's like a gray color. These are just some of the flosses. I think they'll look pretty good against it. There's really only, it seems like a very blue pattern, but there's like one blue in the whole pattern. So that is my new year, new start. I have it kitted up, working copy made, fabric ready, floss ready. This is in one of my project bags. It's a Josephine Wall fabric. It's a pattern. It's a project bag that was made for me by JustCrossingStitches. She was kind enough to do some custom bags for me. So I have it in my project bag, and I am ready to go on January 1st, tomorrow. Husband and I will hibernate. We'll probably make breakfast, and then, or I'll make breakfast, he'll eat it. And then we'll just hibernate for the day, probably take down Christmas decorations. Okay, so let's get into it. Now here's the fun part. I promised that when I hit 1,000 subscribers, I would have a really good giveaway. And I think I have a pretty good giveaway. So here's the rules for the giveaway. You must be 18 and over, in the United States only. Do not say giveaway, do not say free, do not say any of the words that may trigger the trolls. This is for my subscribers, my viewers, as a thank you gift for supporting my channel, for watching me, supporting my cross stitch, your friendship. I do enjoy reading all your comments, and this is my way of saying like thank you for your support, and that keeps me making this video, because I know there are so many Flosstubers out there. And even when I sit down to watch Flosstube, I have my regulars I try to watch all the time, but there's always new ones that pop in, and I'm always finding like new Flosstubers or Flosstubers that maybe are established that I haven't seen before. And then, you know, I like people who stitch a variety like I stitch, and then there's people who stitch maybe, you know, there's one lady who stitches nothing but stockings, and I get fascinated watching her. There's people with the full coverage, and I watch them, or the samplers, and I watch that. So there's just so many Flosstubers out there, and it's such a great community. This is just my thank you to you. So I have a great little pile to give away. Once again, over 18, US only. Sorry, the postage is crazy enough as it is. US only. And do not say giveaway, free, anything like that. I'm going to give you a word, and that word you'll put in the comment below. My drawing will be on my next video, my next update video, which will be at the end of January. Okay, so it will be a little while. Please remember to come back for the winners, because I only film once a month. I had 2 special videos out this week because I had extra days off from work, but I am really like a once a month Flosstuber, because I like to have a lot to show, because sometimes I may only work on one thing for a month, and I want to have stuff of variety to show you. Plus, this does take a lot of time to get it all out, put it all away, upload it, edit, all that, blah, 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 blah. So I'd rather have stitchy time. So the first giveaway I have for you is the Cross Stitch Patterns No Place Like the Beach by Barefoot Needle Art. And I'm going to throw in the finishing pack, which has trim, fabric, and the mounting board. And this is if you were to stitch it on 32 count linen 1/1. That's what this finishing pack's for. You could use the called for flosses, which are a lot of gentle arts, Threadworks, Weeks. But you could also just do it in DMC or substitute your own fabrics, because, you know, the snowman's a little weird color. So this is the first giveaway, and just say beach. Use the word beach in your comment. Oh, dropping stuff. Sorry. Okay. The second item I'm giving away is Heart in Hand Christmas Tiny Town. This is the pattern. No beads, no buttons, just the pattern. So just say Christmas. Primrose Cottage Stitchers, Happy Halloween. Say happy. I'm going to have to go back and write all these down so I know. So use happy, the word happy. I'm saving some of the good ones. There's some good ones in here. Jardin Privé Patchwork Halloween. Say patchwork. Jardin Privé Halloween. I can't. Stitching. Say stitching. Hands-on design. Let's talk stitching. Say talk. T-A-L-K. Talk. Two Turtles and a Flamingo by Jean Farish. So this has the option for the words down here. There's many sayings in here, from beach time to Caribbean to pool time, Florida Keys. She has a lot of options in here of what to put of the words. So for two turtles and a flamingo, say turtle. The Great Cheshire Pumpkin by Tempting Tangles. Say pumpkin. This one, color photo, the photo on this does not do this justice. In previous videos, you'll see my fully finish of it. It's gorgeous. This looks very neon-y yellow. It is not. It's very neutrals, but it's a gorgeous piece. So for the Great Cheshire Pumpkin by Tempting Tangles, say pumpkin. Here's an interesting one for those who maybe want to try this. This is counted canvas. So this is a counted canvas work pattern by Needle Delights Originals, Sugar Light. Has all the instructions in here on how to do it. You need some Caron watercolors and some pearl cotton. So if you're interested in trying the counted canvas, you know, I've done a few pieces of this. I have other videos that give, you know, some step-by-steps on how to start it or how to work it. And my friend EJ, I recently helped her get started on her first counted canvas work project. So if you're interested in trying some counted canvas work, this is Sugar Light. Just say originals. I'm not having anyone try to spell that. Just say originals. And this pattern could be yours to give it a try. Okay, so here's a pattern. This came in a Halloween box I got. Honestly, I'm not going to stitch it, so I figure let's pass it along to you. It is called The Pumpkin House by Hello from Liz Matthews. So say house. And I believe this is stitched on 2 different linens. So this is The Pumpkin House by Hello from Liz Matthews. This came as an exclusive in a Halloween box from the kitten stitcher I got this year. I'm not going to stitch this, so I figure I'm going to pass it along. So just say house. Okay. I have a kit that I'm going to give away. Sorry. A kit I'm going to give away. It is a Halloween kit. It comes with floss and fabric, and it has, what size fabric does it have? 14 count white Aida. And it says Halloween kit by Artiste. Just say kit, K-I-T, kit. And the kit could be yours. I realized I'm not going to stitch that. And the last 2, one is a piece of fabric by Bestitch Me. This was a Friday night fight night fabric, so it doesn't have a name. It is a piece, it's a fat core of 16 count Aida. So it's a beautiful neutral piece of Aida. And if you're interested in this piece of Aida, say Aida. A-I-D-A, Aida. And the piece of Aida could be yours. I happen to have 2 in this colorway, so I figured I'm going to share one with you. And the last item I have is a kit. And this was a monthly kit from Silver Needle, their Stitching Circle kit. And it is Erica Smalls, Vintage Garden Smalls. And there's a strawberry and, oh, there's like a little needle book and stuff here. So it's a Smalls. And it comes with a piece of, let me get it, 32 count linen, 32 count linen, light mocha Belfast linen. And it says use 1 ply from your 6/6 strands for stitching over 2 threads. It has some instructions here. It has a little zippered pouch with a thread keep. It has a needle minder, a needle. It's got finishing felts. It has floss, and it has some different needle threaders and buttons and stuff to finish the little kit. So it's everything in this little kit. Everything in this little kit, flosses, everything to stitch these smalls. So say vintage, vintage, and that one could be yours. So that is everything. I'm going to clean this mess up. Please leave your comments below for the giveaway. Do not say giveaway. 18 and over, please be a subscriber. Oh, I should have said that earlier. You must be a subscriber to win. I will double check, sorry. I want my subscribers to be able to enjoy this gift from me. So you must be a subscriber to win. I will check that you're a subscriber. So leave your comments below with the words. I need to rewatch this video so I know the words. And thank you, everybody, for watching me. Have a very happy new year. Be safe if you're going to, party. I think a lot of us stitchers are partying, going to be stitching until the wee hours. So everyone, you have a very happy new year. I wish you the best in the new year, and I'll see you back here at the end of January. Bye, everyone.